What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react to 10 graphs that prove Canada has better education than the United States. So, here in the United States, I like to think we have very intelligent people, one of the best education systems in the world, but apparently my hopes and dreams on this might be a bit shattered here today because according to these graphs, Canada is just better at education than the United States. So let's take a look at some of these to figure out why exactly that is. Starting with graph number 1, it's about average reading score. The average reading score in Canada is higher than the average reading level in the United States. You guys are better at reading. It says you have a PISA score of 507. So you got, it's kind of close, you know. Give us a little bit of credit. Am I already like coping here a little bit? I don't know. Genuinely, it's not that huge of a difference. I don't really understand what the PISA reading score means. It's a reading assessment. It's an international test of 15-year-olds in each country. Focuses on how well students apply reading to real-world tasks. Higher points is a stronger performance. So Canada is, and it's interesting, this is 15-year-olds, so it's like measuring the youth of our countries, and young Canadians read better than young Americans. I didn't know that. But it's kind of close. Give us that. This is the average mathematics score. This one is not as close. This is also the PISA mathematics scoring system with 15-year-olds again in Canada. 497 versus America, 465. This is getting less close. The last one, the reading levels in our countries are like kind of neck and neck, with Canada edging us out. The mathematics in young Canadians is quite a few points better, actually, on average, which I also didn't know about. It's interesting because I'd love to know what exactly Canada is doing specifically to get these higher scores. Because obviously there must be some differences in our education system and how we teach our young kids. This is number 3. It says average science score. Okay, so we did reading, math. This is science. It's close, but Canada wins again. This is really interesting. And it doesn't seem to be just like a one-off thing. Like, I could have argued like, oh, Canada, you're better at teaching reading, but we're better at like math and no, Canada is actually beating the U.S. in young people's ability to read, know science and mathematics. This is concerning to me. Because here in the United States, we take a lot of pride, like in our people and our nation's accomplishments, and that all stems from fundamentally how the next generation is educated. And we're talking about 15-year-olds here right now. That's the next generation. This is 15-year-olds again, Canada versus the United States. The percent of 15-year-olds that are below level 2. What does that mean? This is reading. So this graph is the share of 15-year-olds that are below the proficiency level 2 in reading. Level 2 is considered baseline to participate in society. So this is the percentage of 15-year-olds that are like below proficient in reading. And for this one, lower is better. You want the lower value. In Canada, 18% of kids are below the proficiency level of reading. And in the US, our bar graph is above the maximum. You can't even read it. I think it says 20. 20% of 15-year-olds in America aren't proficient at reading? I'm actually surprised it's even 18% in Canada. The United States and Canada were both like first world countries, both good, successful countries. I'm speaking pretty broadly here, but is anyone else a little surprised that 18%, 15% of teenagers can't read effectively enough to participate in society? That's 1 out of 5. That true? America is doing worse again with the reading here, but it's not that much different. It's all a bit concerning to me, actually. That one. Average literacy scores. This is from 16-year-olds all the way to 65-year-olds. This is everybody. 16 to 65-year-olds. In Canada, the average literacy score is 271 versus in the United States, 258. We're not even talking about kids anymore. We're just talking about all of society. Canadians are just better at being literate. Really, this is the PIAAC. Average literacy proficiency scores. It scores adult skills. Higher scores indicate stronger everyday reading. Well, this is literally just 10 graphs that show how Canadians are outperforming Americans in basically every category, and a lot of, particularly the reading, is alarming to me. This one, America's doing quite a bit worse than Canada. Average numeracy score in Canada, 271 versus America, 249. What is a numeracy score? What does that even mean? It's a measurement of math and quantitative problem solving. That's pretty important stuff. Wow! God, I'm American. I'm a proud American, and America has had a lot of great accomplishments and people, and I'm kind of shocked based on these results. But this is all pretty recent. I'm actually starting to think, is America like just trending down? Like, are we going downhill with the education? I don't know. Because this is data from like 2022, 2024, pretty recent stuff. And we're just trailing behind Canada in every single category, with whether it's teenagers or adults. Percent of 25 to 34-year-olds who without upper secondary. So we're talking about like secondary education, young adults without a high school diploma. Is that what this is? Percentage of 25 to 34-year-olds who have not completed upper secondary, which is high school. Percent of adults who haven't completed high school. You can still be like very successful without completing high school, but you should obviously do it if you can. But with that being said, 5% of Canadians haven't completed high school. 6% of Americans haven't completed high school. This is like pretty, it sounds like in both countries where it's pretty low. Most Canadians and most Americans complete high school at a minimum. 6%, 5%. Canada technically doing a little better again, but that's close. Percent of 25 to 34-year-olds with tertiary. Is that like a college degree? Post-secondary degree? This is adults with college diplomas, bachelor's degrees. Wow. This one, Canada is doing significantly better on this one. This is a huge discrepancy. America, 51% of us have college degrees, bachelor's, associates, whatever. I think that's pretty good. Like 50% of our population. That's higher than I would have thought. In Canada, it's almost 70%. That is amazing. A huge, huge part of the Canadian population is very highly educated. Do you guys just really promote like post-secondary education, or you know what it might also be? In Canada, I think it's a lot more affordable to go to college and to go to university. It's just a lot more affordable. You guys don't have to take on basically a home loan. Like a lot of Americans have to take out loans for 20, 50, $100,000 to go to college. Seriously. So I'm even surprised 50% of us have done it. Canada, you guys are obviously doing something very right. 67% of Canadians have college degrees. That is incredible to me. This is the percent of people not in education, employment, or training. Is this just a measurement of unemployment? So this is the amount of people who are not learning, they're not in any education, they're not employed, they're not training to be anything. Young people disengage from school and work. What are they doing then? Who are these people? What are they? They just do nothing? I mean, I'm sure there's some legitimate reasons for people who are incapable of doing, like, going to school or work or whatever, if you have something bad going on. But for the most part, it's like, geez, 11% of Canadians are not currently in school, not working, not training to be anything, just existing. And in America, it's 14%. I didn't know it was such a high number. In both countries, this is pretty high to me. This could also be people who are retired, right? Yeah, this could be people who are retired, people who maybe have disabilities. I don't know. I'm sure there's an explanation for this, but in America, 14% of our population. Wow, that's higher than I thought. And finally, the percent of 15-year-olds below level 2. Did we look at this already? Oh, this is in mathematics. Earlier, we looked at reading comprehension. This is 15-year-olds, teenagers, who are below proficient in math. Oh my God. This is one of the most lopsided graphs in the whole thing. Canada, 21% of 15-year-olds below proficient in math. That's a lot. In the United States, it's 34? Over a third of teenagers. Like, math is not the most important thing. I'm going to be honest. Especially if you are not going into a career that needs math. But you should have a certain threshold of mathematics. Like, you should at least be competent. And I think that what this is saying is 34% of teenagers in America aren't even really competent in math, which is alarming. That's a huge number. Canada is doing much better with this as well. Canada is clearly doing better in a lot of different categories of education. What's your guys' secret? What is it? Some of this can be explained with, like, school education loans for higher education, but a lot of this was about kids, teenagers in Canada, just straight up doing better than Americans. So I do feel like there's a lot that America could learn from the Canadian education system. I'm actually really curious because this is clearly not just a one-off. Like, this is across the board. Canadians are doing better and smarter and more advanced than Americans. And it's not, so this isn't something we should, like, shy away from and pretend isn't happening. We should get to the root cause and also look at countries like Canada and figure out what you're doing better. Seriously. This was very eye-opening. I enjoyed this, but at the same time, it's gotten me a bit concerned and disturbed for America. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave comments with your thoughts on any of these graphs that pretty much prove Canada has better education than America. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and seeing Canadian things I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe. for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.